Hello and welcome to Life Happens with Bahati Joyce, where we take life head on and make it happen, bringing you the best of Africa. Today I have with me a woman who is making life happen. How? Well, she's saving marine life in Tanzania, one recyclable item at a time, with her environmentally friendly packaging company called WePack. Welcome to our show. We're here with Grace. Grace is an entrepreneur. She's a mother, she's a wife, and her biggest accomplishment, she says, is starting this business that is making a direct impact in the environment, and she's so passionate about making change. Grace, you're very welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much.
So tell me about this Save the Turtles and Stop Hurting the Ocean passion that you have. I want to know more about that passion. Why do you care so much about the environment?
Because someone has to care. Because at the end of the day, someone has to do something, and that just might as well be me. So what we're doing is that we're packing one box which is going to be recycled.
Okay.
We can use any sort of resources, but these resources have to be eco-friendly. That means we don't use plastics, we don't use anything that cannot be recycled.
Very nice. So before we dive deeper into your business, I want to know, first of all, the passion for saving the environment, for caring about marine life. Where did it start? How did it start?
It actually started from after I became a mother.
Okay.
So right now my daughter is 3 years old.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, she's the kindest human being. So every time I would think like, what would I like her to think of me when she grows up? So I would just put my eyes and put my feet into her tiny shoes and just think like, after 20 years from now, she would think like, what did mom do? Did she pursue her career, and what did she do? Like, what really did she do? Did she change someone? Did she change something? Did she change a situation, no matter how small it is? So my whole passion has been about change, but most of it has been about I make changes so that she can also make another change. So this is generational impact.
After you became a mother,
Yes.
and you were thinking about the tomorrow for
Exactly.
your child. That's amazing. So would you say this passion has always been inside of you, or did it recently spark after realizing, wait, I have to think about the next generation?
When I was just about to get deep into my career, at one point, me and my young sister, we sat down and we asked ourselves, like, if we're another human being, what would we do? So we just asked ourselves, what would we do? And I told her, I want to make change. So she told me, like, has that always been in you? I was like, yeah, but I just didn't know how to go about it. So my young sister is my best friend.
Okay.
She is like the one person I would always go to whenever I think of something, whenever I'm confused. So from the beginning, I was hopping from one job to another.
Okay.
Then she told me, like, this cycle has to stop. There's something that you're looking for, and you have to stop and look for it before you go for another job.
Okay.
And then I told her, maybe it's that I'm not satisfied in what I do, because I'm an accountant by profession. I took finance, so I'm really good at it.
Oh, wow.
So I told her, like, then I have to look for something that I really want. So we had an agreement. We're like, if we were another human being, what would we do? And then we agreed, like, from now on, we wouldn't ask ourselves this question. Instead, we would be that other human being. That just means that we would just be ourselves.
Yeah, if I could be anything, what would I be and what would I do? So
Okay.
now let me ask you, of all the things that you could do and be passionate about, why the environment and why marine life?
Okay, so it's been a process. I have always been concerned, especially when we used to use the plastic bags. I used to ask myself, where are all these plastics going? And when I had a daughter, I was asking myself, where are all these diapers going to? So who does the recycling? Where do they go to? And at that point, I just told myself, like, I have to change something. And I started with my own home. At my home, we hardly have plastics.
Okay.
Even before they announced like
Yeah.
plastics are not allowed at my own home.
You don't use plastics.
We hardly. Everything, we recycle everything. And I was watching Nat Geo, and I just learned that lots of marine life, they die not from natural death. No, but it's because they are consuming plastics. They are suffocating from these things that we're using. We're using them, we are consuming it, but then they die from it. So how can you consume? I consume it for my own needs. Then after it satisfies my need, I just waste it and I don't recycle it. So instead, another being actually dies from me consuming something.
Right.
Then why don't I do something to at least reduce the death of, no matter how small, even
life,
life
life itself, because it's still life.
It's still life.
Marine life, or it's the environment.
Whether it can speak or it can't. And actually, as human beings, we have the responsibility of speaking for these lives
Animals
which cannot speak for themselves.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, if you were Madam President for a day, what would you do differently? What would you change?
I would go sit down with my cabinet about the environment. I would ask them to hold hands of these small entrepreneurs who are actually doing recycling.
Welcome back to Life Happens with Bahati Joyce. We're taking life head on and we're making it happen. So I want to know more from, us as Tanzanian, that perspective. As a nation, we know that tourism is one of the big things for us.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the focus has been in tourism, more on wildlife and safari and, the Serengeti and Manyara and all that. But we actually have a huge marine resource. We have a Mafia Island. We have a huge reservoir of marine life.
Yes,
and I want to know from you, what do you think about that? Are we doing enough to take care of our marine life? And what can we do to improve or to take care of our environment more? Specifically because you've talked about your passion for, you don't want turtles choking.
I don't want turtles choking.
So tell me, from your perspective as a Tanzanian who's making that change, what would you like to see the government do? What would you like to see us as a people do for our marine life?
First, us as Tanzanians, we have to stop undergrading ourselves.
Okay.
We have amazing marine life, and we can make lots of money from it. We can get lots of tourism attraction from it. And if we can actually just change a little bit of our perspective, that let's stop looking at the wildlife, at the lions, at the elephants, at the giraffes. I'm not saying that it's not important. It is important. But just think of this. You're getting one income from the wildlife, but now you would get two incomes from the marine wildlife and the normal wildlife. So us as Tanzanians, first we should just think from the money perspective. Then that will actually make us respect the wildlife.
So if you were Madam President for a day, you were the First Lady of the United Republic of Tanzania, what would you do differently? What would you change in terms of our environment? You've talked so much about change. Well, if you were given that seat for a day, what would you do differently?
I would go into the policies of the environment policies. I like the fact that half of the work is already done by banning the plastic.
That was
bags.
fantastic.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, plastic bags are banned,
and it was
that
effective.
Was first step, wonderful,
and it's very effective. And people are following the rules. People are not having plastic bags. They're not even smuggling them. It's just clean. The air is just clean. Now, I would go sit down with my cabinet about the environment, specifically about the environment.
Okay.
I would ask them to hold hands of these small entrepreneurs who are actually doing recycling. Because, for example, if you go to the artisan market happens every year during May and in November. So if you walk in the booths of most of these small entrepreneurs, most of them, what they're doing, they're recycling. But most of these, they don't even have enough support from the government. So we would just start from there. We would go to to the organization, because it's some sort of a club, the artisan club. So we just go there and then we would ask, how can we help you? How can we support you? There's someone who's recycling glass. There's glass of the beers. He's making it into candles. There are people who are using, there are so many things.
And I have seen a lot of people recycling and turning it into art.
Exactly.
Which I think we need to appreciate more of creativity. I love the ideas that you're giving, because a lot of these movements and initiatives I have seen through other international organizations, which is okay. But what you're saying is it would be wonderful if you were given that position, you would initiate it from within. So it would be our own initiation to impact the environment by supporting entrepreneurs such as yourself, by supporting organizations that are being intentional about recycling, reusing, remodeling, and repackaging.
The whole thing, the whole recycling by itself is money. So if we would put more efforts in it, then just imagine how many jobs we would actually be giving people.
I like you're thinking like an entrepreneur, and now I can see you're an entrepreneur. You brought in the money aspect. You're like, we can actually make money from this. As a nation, as you know, we can make money from recycling. And it's not just, you know, to leaders and those who can impact policies. This is to young people. You can actually make money from recyclable material.
Exactly. You can sell it. We can actually reduce the importing of so many things that we don't need. We don't need so many things. There are so many plastic flowers. We don't need so many of those things. We can just buy what we have. We can just put more effort in our own local small businesses, and that would make changes. It makes a lot of change if you put a little bit of more effort, if you just buy one more thing from a local shop. But actually it just makes a whole difference if you buy from home.
Buy from home, reuse, recycle, and keep it environmental friendly. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Life Happens with Bahati Joyce. We're taking life head on and we're making it happen. So Grace, now I want to get in your business. I want to talk more about your business and just your entrepreneurial journey. What and how did you do to turn what is a passion into a lucrative business? Tell me your entrepreneurial journey.
Basically, it started some time ago when I actually went to a shop to buy cupcakes. So I just wanted cupcakes, but I didn't want the plastic. They were serving them in plastic containers. So I didn't want to live with a plastic container. I wanted them to give me a box. So I asked, can I get a box? So they said, no, you either take the plastic or you take the tissues. So I was like, no, I actually wanted the box to put this cupcake in so that when I get home, I can eat some, and some I can also give them to my daughter as a present, so that when she opens the box and we don't need to throw away the box, we can reuse it, put some of her toys. So that was when I started. So when they told me that they couldn't put for me in a box, they couldn't put the cupcake in a box, I went home, I measured the cupcake, and I made a box. I didn't make one box. I actually made 50 boxes.
So you were like, you know what? You can't give me a box. I'm going to make my own boxes. Wow, incredible.
Yeah. So from that, then there was an exhibit. There was an exhibition sometime. So I went there with my boxes. They were really poorly made because I made them with my hands. I didn't even know how to cut properly, how to measure properly. I didn't even follow the designer rules. No, I just cut the boxes, I made the boxes, I kept them in the cupcakes. And I asked someone, can I help you sell your cupcakes? She said yes. So I just took my boxes, I took her cupcakes, I took the cupcakes, I kept them in the boxes, then I sold all the cupcakes.
Wow, that's so incredible. Tell me now, at which point that transitioned into a business?
So the same day that I went to the exhibition, when I was selling the cupcakes, there's this woman who came to me. She sells jewelry. She asked, can you make for me a box for my jewelry? Because I don't like the packaging. I don't like packing it in small plastic bags. Instead, I want to use a box, and I actually want a box that I can actually write that we can actually recycle this.
Wow.
So that will give her a bigger market base, and that will make her cautious of the environment. So that was when I started it, and I thought, oh, so this can actually turn into a business. I remember going back home and agreeing to myself that if I can actually make this work, then I'm going with it to the long haul. I'm not just going to do it for now. I'm going to do it for a really long time.
Wow, and that was the turning point. I find it fascinating that actually it took another person who was environmentally conscious to say, you know what, can you make that for me?
Yes.
And I like that because sometimes we as young people, you don't see what you could turn into a business and make it work for you. So I like the fact that you were actually just being responsible.
Yes.
And somebody responded to your desire to make the environment cleaner, and you were able to take something that it was just an idea into something that is making an impact and is making you that ka-ching.
Yeah, it is.
That's wonderful. So as an entrepreneur, I'm sure there are a number of challenges that you faced throughout your journey. So tell us a bit about those challenges, especially in this context of Tanzania. I want you to bring it home and tell us what are some of those challenges that you might have faced as a young entrepreneur in this Tanzanian ecosystem.
The thing that actually challenged me the most is the fact that most of the small entrepreneurs, the small startups, don't really have support. Because if you go to the big company, he says he will not produce less than 100,000 units.
Oh, wow.
So imagine you're a startup, you are starting to sell soap. Do you have 100,000 customers waiting at your door? No, because this is all about humble beginnings. You start from one place and then you climb the ladder like this. Now, what happens to all these small entrepreneurs? So they actually have to go to the other person who's actually at the city center at Kariako to make these packages. And at times, these small entrepreneurs want to go out of the comfort zone. They want to make more things. They want to make different kinds of packages. They want to explore the market. But because it's too expensive, so they just have to make the same patterns and the same designs.
There's no room for creativity.
Oh,
wow.
There is no room for creativity. And if you are too creative, it will be super expensive than your product.
Creative is too expensive.
It's too expensive.
So everybody just does the same generic things.
It's the same thing.
Looking now more to you as a woman.
Yes.
As a young woman in Tanzania, how has this journey and this industry been like for you? Give me that perspective of a woman in business.
This industry is male dominated. I can't lie. I have worked with very few female designers who are actually cardboard designers, especially in Tanzania. I have worked with women who come and give me their designs, like we need this, we would like it to be colored like this. But if I go back to the market, if I go back to the whole producing, I have to work with a lot of males than with a lot of females.
Has that been a challenge for you? The fact that there are very few women and that it's a male-dominated industry? Has that been a challenge?
Yeah, sometimes. At one point, because sometimes you can make a product for a client and a client would actually compare with another product that's made from a male designer.
Wow, okay.
So they don't really take creativity, they don't give creativity that big of a credit as they should.
From your experience, what would you advise a fellow woman who's in business, who's an entrepreneur, maybe in a male-dominated industry as well? How have you managed to navigate that space that's sometimes challenging? Like you said, sometimes you find a client actually compares male and female designers and says, you know, I prefer this because it was made by a man. What's your advice for other fellow women who are watching?
So they have to keep pressing on, because what they have comes from inside. It's not what the society says. It's not what they read about on the blogs, on the newspapers. No, it's about what's inside. It's about what do you have inside of you. Use that to actually get connections. Use that and add more skills other than the skills that you're actually given by
like
God.
that.
Add more skills onto that. This is a plate. Add.
What kind of skills can women add to stand out in an environment that is, quite frankly, difficult and hostile sometimes?
Communication.
Okay. Wow.
Communication is the #1 skill that women should actually really invest in. Because even if you're going to a market which is male dominated, but if you know how to communicate well, you can easily break down those walls and make people feel comfortable with having a woman, even if they're all men in the boardroom.
So what has been the most successful achievement for you in this journey? I know you're still on that journey and you have a long way to go, and I know you're going to do awesome, but so far, those successes.
So the first success is the fact that I actually secured the contract of being a designer.
What was the name of that, you said?
Juapano.
Juapano.
Yes.
Wow, the official designer of Juapano.
Yes.
Amazing.
So he'll be replacing all these toothpicks, all these cotton buds, and these are things that we use them on a daily basis. To me, in a span of a really short period of time, I have managed to actually get that contract.
Yeah,
to me, that's like
a success.
It is.
What materials are you guys using?
So to start with, we use cardboards, we use manila papers, we use the normal A4 papers, we use papers of any grams, and we also use recycled papers. Okay. There's some recycled papers which we actually use to make boxes, and we use pure cotton to make some of the bags, because some of the packages are actually bags. We make the wine bags, and we also use batiks. So we take pure cotton, we dye it with the natural dye, and then we make bags from it. And then we pack some things in there for some of the clients.
Where do you see this thing going, and what do you want out of it?
So right now I'm venturing into investing in machines, because at first I started handmade. So there are still some clients who still prefer handmade packages, and we are going to cater to that need. But we still want to do more, because there are so many small startups which are rising up and really fast, because Tanzania is a really fast-growing economy.
Yes, it is.
So we have to cater to that need. And because now the economy is really looking at the entrepreneurs, the small entrepreneurs. So I'm investing in more machines, and I want to open more than just one branch. I just don't want to have something here in Dar es Salaam and say, it's enough. No, there are still people who need this particular service in Dodoma, in Mwanza, in Sumbawanga, in Mtwara, in Tabora, in all these places. That's the dream.
That's the dream. The future looks bright. I'm so happy for you. And just as you mentioned, Tanzania, we have a fast-growing economy.
It is.
There's a lot of changes that have already happened these last 5 years. And there's something that the president shared his vision, and he said, Tanzania ya viwanda.
Exactly.
Which means industrialized Tanzania. That's something that you're doing as a young entrepreneur in your own space.
Yes.
You have started Tanzania ya viwanda.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're going with that as a country? Finally, before we finish up, where do you see the nation can go with Tanzania ya viwanda? And how can we support our young entrepreneurs?
So just from the president's vision, so that the vision can come true, there has to be stakeholders who can actually help with his vision. We young people, we are the stakeholders. No. We are putting an impact, an input on his vision. And his vision is really bright, because right now I can see there are so many people who are studying new things, and especially women. I went to a training last week. Okay. It was a training for making batiks and making local soaps. I just went there to learn more. In all that, I learned that so many of these women are actually having small industries in their own homes.
Wow.
So more than 10 women in
home
a bunch of 30 women who are just there are actually making detergent soaps.
At home.
At home. And selling them at home. These are not at Kariako, at Posta, no. These are making all these products at home. So The future is bright.
The future is bright.
Very.
And we love it. We love having you here on the show. You've shared
you.
so much from your passion about, you know, the environment. And you said you don't want the turtles to
dying. This is shocking.
That's hilarious. We don't want no turtles choking on plastic. But most importantly, I think what I've taken from what you've shared is one, finding your passion, finding your purpose. You did mention that you had been hopping from job to job up until you found that which you were passionate about.
Yes.
And also what I've taken is that you can create something for yourself with what you have.
Exactly.
You said if you have a talent and you're going hungry, something is wrong with you. So you've taken a talent, you've taken a passion, you've turned it into money, you've turned it into impact, you've turned it into, it's a movement.
It is.
It's a movement whereby now we as Tanzanians are taking responsibility, one, for our own entrepreneurial success, but also two, for the environment and you know, saving marine life, and that's amazing.
That's amazing.
It's amazing, Grace. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for
too.
tuning in. This has been awesome. I look forward to what you are going to do next. So we've heard one amazing story about a woman who is so passionate about saving the environment, recycling, reusing, making sure that we take what we use, we can reuse, and that we don't waste, because when we waste, well, it goes to the ocean. We have such amazing marine life in Tanzania and we want to preserve them. I just have enjoyed listening to these stories. I know you have too. And she's making life happen. She's making life happen for herself. She's making an impact and making a change. And that's what we do here on Life Happens with Bahati Joyce. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.